I'm a bird, mother. I'm a bird.
Bungie's new live service marathon already feels dead on arrival. I mean, I wish I could say I'm surprised, but I'm really not. It's not making people curious about trying it and seeing how it plays.
Sony is making a big push for live services. It's why they bought out studios like Firewalk Studios, who made the epic failure that was Concord, why they bought out Bungie, and why they're having as many of their first-party studios essentially delve into the realm of live services. Though, after the failure of Concord, literally one of the biggest flops in AAA gaming history, it made...
I kind of want to say it's like the biggest flop in the gaming history in general. Not just AAA, just in general.
Yeah.
Literally zero money. After all that, they did cancel a bunch of live service projects, and their plans of like shipping 12 live services within the span of a couple years, that didn't quite pan out. And something else that they're pursuing currently with Bungie in particular is Bungie's next big live service, Marathon. Now, the thing about Marathon is that it is not in the realm of Destiny at all.
Before I even listen to his opinion, I know I've said this about Marathon already multiple times. I think the biggest fault that Marathon has is that it doesn't have anything interesting, innovative, or even captivative about anything about their gameplay. It's like no matter how much I check out the gameplay of Marathon, I just cannot even imagine even wanting to try it. Like, even with horrible games like Assassin's Creed Shadow, or with horrible games like Dustborn, you at least had something that would motivate you to play it, right? Like, because the game is so bad, I'm gonna play it, right?
Yeah.
Like, the game is so cringe, I'm gonna play it. With this one, it's like, there's nothing about it. It's not good. It's not cringy enough. It's just there. It's like a wet sock after a gym. It's just there. And it's like, no, you just want to throw in the washing machine.
Marathon is a completely different beast, whether it's for better or for worse. I guess we'll find out at launch, but currently it's looking like for worse. So this right here, for those who don't know, is Marathon. It is an extraction shooter. It is slated to be released on September 23rd, 2025, and here's what the trailer...
Honestly, I think it's barely an extraction and barely a shooter, but it's just my opinion. It's definitely barely an extraction. You just don't have anything on the line in that game. You load in, you run around, every single loot you're looting, you already see the prices. Actual tactics where you can avoid other players. You can just go loot up NPCs. There's nothing at stake with that game. It might be fun for 1 or 2 games, but it's gonna get old very fast. There's nothing you need to prepare. There's nothing that you need to learn and just, get better at the game. It's very boring.
For it, the gameplay overview trailer for it looks like. This game does definitely have a unique vibe to it. It's got this like cyberpunky, colorful...
No, I don't think it has any cyberpunky, colorful thing. I think it looks like a failed attempt at like Borderlands.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
Yeah.
Abstract. Kind of almost like minimalistic in terms of shapes and textures. Aesthetic to it.
Marathon is a team-based extraction shooter set around the mysterious and cutthroat world of Tau Ceti 4. You are a runner.
And if you've played Destiny,
who's given up their human form for a biosynthetic shell with unique abilities and stats.
In terms of moment-to-moment gameplay,
tactical and fast-paced combat.
The gunplay.
Like, I know we already watched the trailer for this, but watching the trailer for like what, 5th time now? The more I see, the more I hate it. The more I'm noticing all the clutter around, all the messiness around. It's like at places it looks cluttered, other places it looks freaking bland.
Yeah.
It's even for like visually, it's just so freaking unappealing.
And whatnot, the moment-to-moment combat.
Across a variety of zones and points of
It definitely looks
You'll face rival runners in zones of up to
Like that
18
area is going to be, it's going to feel good to play because Bungie is good at that in terms of gunplay feeling good, but it's
Bungie was never good at gunplay feel.
Never. Ever.
I don't know. My experience with Bungie games, playing many years of Bungie games, they genuinely don't quite understand how a gun should fully feel in a game. It's like, especially with like Destiny, one of the issues I had with the guns there, right? Like for example, the grip wouldn't go along with the visuals, or the visuals would not go along with like how the gun even handles. At least in my opinion, I thought like for Bungie, the gun gameplay was always like a weakness for them.
Yeah.
threats.
but it's the game surrounding that people have doubts about.
Colony for glory and fortune. The environments of Tau Ceti 4 are filled with weapons, materials, and equipment you can scavenge throughout the map.
It's an extraction shooter, so you go in,
You'll strategically build your loadout and select a runner.
loot as much
Ensure
as
you're equipped
possible.
for the run ahead. Your objective.
Yeah, that's exactly what they're showing in like gameplays and stuff. You just loot as much as you can fit. Well, when you look at one of the top extraction games, which would be Tarkov, you actually have to grind out that loot. You have to actually know what has any values, or what you need for your hideout to be upgraded, or what you need to complete missions. Here, you spawn in, you loot as much as you can fit, and you fuck off. What's the point?
is simple.
PvPvE,
Get in, gather as much loot as you can, and make it out alive.
and you extract yourself, and then you repeat that cycle, and then kind of try to
survive.
upgrade your character
Into future runs as you grow in power and fill your
while trying to retain your own
death.
valuable loot.
But it's never the end. Think quickly on your feet and outplay your opponent.
Because if you get
On the next
downed
run,
and
you and your teammates
killed,
will be the ones coming out on top.
others can take your stuff, and along the
even if
way,
you're
there are
down on
objectives.
Well, obviously.
It's an extraction shooter. Also, Division had better extraction mechanics than this.
You name it.
Factions can sponsor you with a fresh loadout, so you can get right back
So yeah, you
into the
kind of
fight.
get a general vibe for the game just
Bungie
looking
brings
at
its
this
best-in-class
initial portion
first-person
of this
multiplayer
trailer.
action to the forefront. Dynamic and tactile gunplay. Runners with unique playstyles.
Now, what you'll
and
find is that
customizable builds create highly dynamic and strategic team fights.
if you look at the likes to dislikes ratio, you can see that they're very much
I mean, people have spoken.
Yeah,
People definitely have spoken. They don't want to see this. Cannot wait to play as walking power outlets with arms and legs. But here's the best part. You have to pay to play. That's the best part.
mixed feelings surrounding this particular title based on what people have seen. A lot of people just generally have the sense that the game looks a bit underwhelming. It's not what Destiny fans want. They are looking more forward to something that is that shared world type of experience that Marathon isn't really. It's more of like you go into a lobby, then you go into a match, then you get out, and then you repeat that cycle, instead of it feeling like a more kind of interconnected experience. Like whereas Destiny had this like campaign that could be tackled together or alone, and it felt like it had multiple facets to it. This is just an extraction shooter. So scrolling down, you'll find comments like, I miss the days when shooters came with epic campaigns and multiplayer modes in one package. Others are questioning its art style, saying that at times it looks really cool and other times it looks like a roadblock server. And some people are already expecting that this game won't really do all that well. Like this user saying, looking forward for Bungie's Twitter post announcing this game's live service cancellation due to low player count in a few weeks.
I don't think they will actually cancel it, but I do expect the game to flop.
Yeah, I think so too.
Here we have the gameplay reveal trailer.
Now, honestly, the more I look at it, it's like just Apex guns.
Yo, I heard that noise. I was like, is that a charge rifle? That was 100% a charge rifle.
They even have a Mozambique.
They have a Mozambique shotgun with 2 barrels instead of 3. And also, you saw the digital threat ACOG on it. I'm like, what is this?
Very scripted, you know, as all gameplay trailers tend to be. But yeah, scrolling down through these comments, you know, likes to dislikes ratio, not great. But then right here, we have plenty of people expressing indifference or expressing a lack of interest or just expressing their disappointment in what Bungie is making here versus what people love from Bungie, especially after Destiny, saying, this is the first time in my life I saw an actual game trailer look like a YouTube ad that I would skip while eating dinner, which indie dev made.
Speaking of YouTube ads, today I had a Valorant animated short ad.
Thing.
Yeah, it kind of definitely took me off guard.
Apex Legends looked like they at least tried. Well, they had a lot to work with.
Apex used to be good, but they lost a lot of trust with the player base.
This early access game. Oh, wow, what a trailer. Words cannot express my indifference. Am I tripping, or was that trailer cut kind of weird, like too jumpy, trying to make it look exciting? There's this general sense that Marathon is not going to perform quite as well as Destiny. There's just this lack of enthusiasm and excitement over it, and looking at early numbers based on the closed beta, the way the game is trending also suggests that maybe it's not something that's going to catch fire. Beyond a lack of interest for the type of game that they're making here through the Marathon IP, which actually was the first game that Bungie ever made, even before Halo, the way they've converted it into an extraction shooter that is more of like a trend-chasing kind of game, and even within that, not really revolutionizing the formula all that much, combined with the fact that
the trend chasing in the gaming industry is genuinely a big problem that's been happening for like 7 years at least.
Yeah.
No. I would say a decade for sure. These companies, and this is how you know, like, these companies don't fully understand what people actually want to play. It's not about what's the new trending genre in gaming. It's honestly more about how the game actually feels and plays. Like, for example, PUBG, right? The game was dookie, and the game is still dookie. It has issues on issues. People still play it, and people still enjoy it, and people still compete in it, and spend a lot of money on cosmetics there. Is it because it's the best game out there? No. But they actually did something unique there. Something that wasn't there in every single game, at least at that time.
closed beta has kind of shown that at launch, Marathon just seems very content dry. It doesn't have enough content to really justify its price point. And speaking of price point, the fact that it's not free to play, a lot of people are saying that based on what they played in the closed alpha, it doesn't seem like the game will ultimately justify its $40 price point. And yes, this is closed alpha stage, but the game does come out in September. That's just a couple months away. And
wait, we're right now in April. Okay, May, June, July, August. Wait, that's not a couple of months. I thought I'm tripping here for a second.
In terms of the full offering as far as content is concerned, I think there's like one more map people haven't seen. There's like a couple things that will be added to the final game, but it's not going to be such a substantial transformation that it's going to change perception surrounding the game, is the general feeling. So yeah, $40 price tag is being perceived as something that will serve as a major detriment to Marathon's ability to be able to be
but it's also going to be $40 for the base game. And then all the microtransactions, all the customization stuff that they will be advertising under FOMO. Don't you want to look cool? I just don't see this appealing to anyone, and I don't see this financial model, even working for games like this.
Accessible, and in turn to be able to pull in successful numbers.
The best example is Marvel Rivals at this point in time. Free entry into the game just to see if you even like it. The second you actually get into the game, you start enjoying it, right? Does it have janks and issues? Yes, 100% has. But it's fun. It's a game where you can just play with your friends. Your friends don't have to buy it either. So it's literally free entry for you and your friends to just have fun. And on top of that, the cosmetics are actually really freaking appealing. And every single week, there's a new event, a new mode. It's actually entertaining. The game actually makes sure that there's something fresh and new happening, but that's also where they get you.
Similarly to how Concord, another one of Sony's live service releases, because they charge money for that up front instead of making it a free-to-play experience. Well, even when it was free-to-play during the beta, that game did incredibly poor numbers. So charging money for it was always going to result in just absolute failure, which is exactly what happened. A lot of people fear that Marathon might experience something similar at a $40 price point. To me, Marathon is going through a very similar journey as Concord is, very like tepid, lukewarm reception when it
Lukewarm is putting it lightly. It's a hot reception, but like hot as in people are really fuming at how bad it is.
comes to what's being marketed. A lot of people who've gotten their hands on it and people who have kind of researched the game or checked it out feeling like it doesn't have enough content at launch, feeling like it's not worth even $40, and feeling like the game is overall polished and, you know, it does a decent job of tackling this specific genre, whether it's, you know, in the case of Concord hero shooter or in the case of Marathon extraction shooter, but it doesn't push.
No, I think the second you fail at understanding what makes that specific genre even appealing to a player, you're not doing an okay job at making that a game for that genre. You automatically fail. That means you just don't understand what even is the genre.
Genre forward enough, and it doesn't stand out enough on its own for it to be able to compete with the established games and to allow this live service to kind of become the, you know, billion-dollar success that companies want these live services to be. We're already seeing a bit of the writing on the wall with Marathon, judging by the trend we're seeing with the closed alpha. Numbers in the closed alpha aren't going to be huge, obviously, because it is a closed alpha, but you can see
But these follows also say a lot.
Yeah, it was a huge dip.
just the way it peaked at almost 7,000 players, and then every day subsequently, we're seeing less and less players. The interest falling off this quickly is kind of an early sign of what's to come, because
And considering that these would be like a lot of content creators who are getting access to this, so this would be day one, right? Where they get their bag, they get their money. Some might have more than one stream, right? But you can see that, for example, at least the content creator side, they would stop streaming it and playing it because even their audience is not enjoying it, or the content creator is just not enjoying it.
Yeah.
final game of Marathon is not going to be that much different from what you play in the alpha. There are going to be some refinements and some content additions that weren't in the alpha, but nothing so substantial as to transform the game to convince people that, you know, if you didn't like the alpha, then you'll.
Also keep in mind, this is not an actual release game. Closed alpha, it would be either reviewers who have access or content creators.
Like the final game, it's not going to be that substantial of a difference. And then another very telling statistic is Marathon's Twitch viewership. You can see that viewership peaked in sort of the early days of the Marathon closed alpha, particularly the day that the alpha went live. You can see right here that
and this just also proves my point why content creators who did get access to it would have stopped also streaming it, because there's just not enough interest. And again, the viewer numbers would also go down depending on the content creators don't want to stream.
Yeah.
It just goes hand in hand.
Viewership peaked at roughly, 170,000 players, over 170,000 players. But then there's this huge drop off, and then there's not much in the way of recovery, highlighting that people got bored of the game pretty quickly. And then it doesn't help that games journalists and content creators who've gotten their hands on Marathon generally are expressing very mixed feelings about the game. None of them seem overly enthusiastic.
Yeah, the only person I actually saw praising the game who actually used to play extraction shooters was Dr. Lupo. But him praising the game, a lot of people criticized, including myself too.
about it. You've got articles like this one saying that Marathon is a polished extraction shooter, but that might not be enough. It feels like it delivers a satisfying gameplay experience, but the experience around the gameplay could leave a lot to be desired. Again, just not enough meat on that bone. And this is just one example. If you go around the internet and look at all the hands-on previews, you'll find that the vast majority of them, while highlighting some of the positive elements, like the fact that it does feel polished in terms of the gameplay experience, in terms of its ability to be a long-term live service, a lot of people have skepticisms. You've already got folks like Paul Tassi here through Forbes, and Paul Tassi being someone who plays a bunch of live services, urging Sony and Bungie to delay.
Yeah, but that's Paul Tassi. Why are we even looking at him as an example?
Marathon based on experiences surrounding the closed alpha, how feature incomplete it feels, how it feels like there's just not enough game there, and how it just needs to be more fleshed out and requires just more time for this to cook. Destiny kind of set the groundwork for modern day shared world looter shooters. It did it first. It's kind of set the trend that others chased after and followed. And that's why Destiny succeeded. It was kind of the first of its kind. And a lot of people feel like Bungie should have just stuck with what they're good at and done a Destiny 3 instead of, trying to chase the trend of an extraction shooter.
Okay, maybe a hot take, but I think it's impossible to make Destiny 3 and actually convince your player base abandon Destiny 1, which people still play, and abandon Destiny 2 to move on to Destiny 3 and spend even more money again. That's a tall order to ask.
Yeah.
Plus, what on earth would they be able to add there? They're already struggling to add anything new or innovative to Destiny 2. So yeah, I think Destiny 3, even like theorizing about it, is so out of place because there cannot be a Destiny 3 unless it would be under a different company.
That others are a lot more established in. Marathon just tackles a genre that Bungie fans aren't interested in, and then when it comes to extraction shooter fans, they've got a lot of options already. The competition in that space is already significant, especially with Tarkov kind of dominating that space. Marathon could potentially pull a Fortnite and become the de facto extraction shooter if they support the game enough and they make some changes and really make it, well above and beyond what Tarkov.
I think after an introduction like this and the reception already generated and the conclusions people have already made, I think it's mostly impossible to even restore faith in the gaming community.
Tarkov accomplished, but there are just skepticisms of that happening. There's this general sense that the game will drop off very quickly, especially with the trends that we're seeing on Steam and on Twitch from the closed alpha. And there's a sense that this game just won't really live long enough to see it fully fleshed out to a point where it can compete with the other extraction shooters out there. We don't live in the same era that Destiny and Destiny 2 launched in, when competition in that space was meager enough where Bungie could come in and kind of set the bar there. We are in an environment now where live services are rampant, where the space and the market is so oversaturated that even Bungie, I think, will struggle to ship their own version of an extraction shooter and make it a success, especially when the early reception based on the trailers and the marketing that they've shown so far and the hands-on impressions have been very tepid. We'll see, I guess, what numbers look like for the open beta. It's still got the Bungie name behind it, but just because you've got a major name behind something doesn't mean that a live service.
Does anyone here actually think that Bungie is a major name at this point? After everything that happened?
Everything they've done.
Yeah.
I don't see it no more.
I think
Dropped it.
I think these days, if you hear Bungie's involved, it's more of a, oh damn, than anything else.
Service will succeed, as evidenced by all of the failed live services like Anthem, which had the BioWare name behind it, Marvel's Avengers, which had the Avengers IP behind it. Frickin' Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League had the DC brand behind it, combined with the entirety of the Justice League. Villains like Harley Quinn and Joker and frickin' Deathstroke, you name it. And none of it ultimately ended up appealing to folks because the game itself was just something that was not particularly interesting. It was not what people wanted to see from a studio like Rocksteady. It felt very misguided. I have a bad feeling about the way this particular live service will perform. I think this may end up being a huge loss for Bungie. While I don't suspect that this will be a failure on the level of Concord, I do think the
Yeah, because to be a failure on the level of Concord, you need to invest over 400 million and be shut down under a week.
Yep.
I think that would be like Olympic level of achievement of failure.
the trend that we're going to see at launch is going to be similar to what we're seeing now with the closed alpha, which is a big wave of people, who will check the game out because it's a new Bungie
Oh yeah,
game.
100%.
Then realizing that it's not kind of
There will be people checking it out. There will be content creators checking it out when it drops. But the end result will still be the same.
what they want, and it's not as interesting of a game as it could be. It doesn't just do enough. It's got that been there, done that aspect to it that makes it not the most exciting new release, and they're going to move on to the more established live services that bring in more viewership, that are just more fun to play, that are more established, that are more feature complete, and Marathon is going to fade off and unceremoniously die like so many live services have, is the current prediction on my end based on what the general vibes are surrounding this title. But only time will tell. In the meantime,
I think what time is telling right now specifically is that people who actually play games, they're fed up with the gaming slop that is being fed down their throat and told them to get a 9 to 5 just to buy those horrible slop games. And it reached a point where people who do play games completely turn away also from gaming journalism that keeps on praising specifically games that are being rejected by people who play games. I think there's definitely a lot of change happening in the gaming industry, and it's for the better.